Well, good afternoon, and thank you so much, Peter and Palisa. Absolutely spot on there in terms of what is going to be going down here in Cape Town, and of course this joint sitting of Parliament convened by the President to set out the key deliverables and objectives that government has for the nation. And of course sitting with me here in studio at this point is the SABC's team. Of course Mzwandile Mbeche is our political editor, and our parliamentary editor Vuyani Green also here with us to just take a look at what to expect. The nation is expectant, but of course the President has to highlight those achievements. He has to highlight the challenges, and also in some sense leave us some bit of hope on which to hang our hats on here, Mzwandile.
Exactly, Sakina. That's exactly what he said when I had a quick chat with him yesterday. He basically said he will inspire hope, because the plans that he's going to announce will be able to indicate where the country is going. Remember, South Africans have been complaining to say it seems to be directionless. Where's the president? President, lead us. And in fact, to underscore that, Sakina, last night he met a team of ministers from the cluster. So that gives you an indication that this speech will be so much more about economy, because without that, so this country is really not moving anywhere. Unemployment, SOEs and stuff like that. So that's where I expect him to really focus on.
Vuyani, as someone who spends most of your time here in this precinct where we're visiting today, I mean, what has the buzz been about for the other 13 political parties who make up Parliament here?
Well, Sakina, good afternoon. This is a political space, political environment where different political ideas, policies are contested, among the 13 parties that are represented here. A lot of political parties, especially your opposition, they are quite critical of the government's performance under the president. And in the period leading up to today, some of them, they held their so-called alternative State of the Nation address because they think that they can outline better policies to attend to some of the problems or the pressing problems that the country is facing. But I think most of them, they just want to see what the president is going to do, and then their chance will come next week when they will have a go at the president in terms of dissecting his speech.
Well, in terms of the expectations of what is to come here tonight, there is, of course, all the pomp and ceremony on the red carpet and the ceremonials preceding all of this as the president makes his way here to the house behind us. And Bulelani Philip is out on the streets to give us a little sense of what is currently happening and also what to expect. Bulelani, over to you.
Well, thank you so much. It's a good afternoon to you guys, and it's just under 3 hours before the State of the Nation address by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Of course, I'm standing outside the gates of Parliament on the corners of St. John's and Plain Street. This is ordinarily where the President uses particular entrance behind my colleague and cameraman to actually enter his Cape Town-based office, 10 A's. But today, it's a big day for him, delivering his fourth SONA, as I said, and I'm going to just step out of picture just to give you an indication of the route that he will be taking. Those barricades will be lifted, and the convoy is going to, as you see in picture, no chances. A lot of policemen, a lot of members of the South African National Defence Force are standing by to monitor safety issues and to actually check any eventuality. Of course, there's also to my left who are standing by with their cast and on barbed wires. Of course.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to the red carpet of SONA 2020. Right here with me, Mzwandile Mbeche, and this year I have my new colleague Natasha Perry. Welcome to Parliament. Welcome to the red carpet.
Thank you so much, and of course to our SABC viewers, thank you so much for tuning in, and of course to our SABC2 viewers, I can't wait, honestly.
I understand this is your first time doing the red carpet. What are you looking forward to the most?
Definitely, this is my first time. Well, despite the president's speech, I think the pomp, the ceremony, who's wearing what, the glitz, the glam, is it in, is it out, is it a hit or is it a miss?
we can already see from behind us down the road right here on the red carpet that some people have started streaming in, but most of them now are just getting their publicity shots, really just to make sure that they're in there on social media, they're on TV the earliest they can do. Will you be able to interact with our viewers as well as people on social media this afternoon?
Definitely, and to our SABC SABC for viewers, don't forget there the hashtag is SONA 2020, and of course interact with us at SABC News Online. Back to you, Sakina.
Thank you, Natasha. And as she said there, hashtag SONA 2020. We want to hear, we want to see it all, and give us your views, your thoughts, your expectations as well. And that's not all the team. We'll be introducing you to the rest of the team as this particular broadcast continues. But let's bring it back to studio now with our editors here at the SABC. And Mzwandile, you spoke about, you know, the president obviously paying attention to the economy and the challenges faced there. But it's a very tight rope for him to walk, because he's going to have to make some concessions in terms of where the failures have been.
Absolutely. In fact, he will then have to really show that he can lead this nation by being able to strike that balance. Because the economy is in a difficult situation. But you and I want delivery, want service delivery, and people out there are no longer that patient. So what is it that he needs to do? I think for me, when I saw him meet with all the key stakeholders, so that gave perhaps an indication that probably ways, I mean, having there, you can see that what he says, he doesn't want to say things that is not costed. I mean, seeing those ministers making a contribution, I think he wants to do the deliverables. But Sakina, I think you and I agree that in terms of plans, our country has always been the greatest. What has been lacking is the implementation. So South Africans will be waiting to hear their president tell them how is he going to do project A to see it to finish, without a situation where you see a number of being started but not completed.
But Vuyani, in terms of that, you know, Mzwandile, you say we're great at coming up with plans, coming up with ideas, but we never implement. So how then are we able to gauge, to assess whether those plans are in fact good plans? Because unless they are implemented, how can we actually say that?
Well, I think that's where, Sakina, the role of Parliament comes in, because Parliament, in terms of the Constitution, exercises an oversight role over the executive, because it's Parliament that allocates resources, votes budget into these different government departments for these programs that the President would have outlined. So it's up to Parliament to exercise this effective oversight over some of these government programs. Like for instance, right now we've got a problem with our SOEs, and the question is, what role did Parliament play in terms of making sure that if there are problems, it's able to highlight those problems in advance and say, hang on, there's a problem here. And I think that's where this Parliament will have to really reconsider its role and assert its role in terms of making sure that it holds government in check. Unfortunately, in terms of our electoral system, you know, the majority party is the one that assumes government, and it stands to reason that the majority of its members, the chairperson of these various committees, are members of the ANC, and therefore I think it's human nature not to be too critical of yourself, because this is their party. But I think because to the extent that they take an oath of office to abide by the Constitution and the laws of the country, they will have to make sure that they do that, and make sure that whatever they do, it's in the interest of the country rather than the interest of the party. And then if that happens, we won't see some of these problems that we've been experiencing of late.
And those are very crucial points that are being made, because is Parliament able to introspect in terms of their role, the role that they have played to the point where we find ourselves today? with a country that is, very apprehensive at this point to hear any more promises from its government. But of course, still anticipating what the president may deliver tonight. And as I say, we have a whole team out here to make sure we bring you carpet and wall-to-wall coverage of what is happening here in Parliament today. And it's now over to Aldrin Sampier and Samkelo Maseko, who are out somewhere at the red carpet.
Not too far, where the president will, for the fourth time, pledge allegiance to the country, pledge allegiance to South Africa for the fourth time, right here at this particular point. And you'll have the president walking through these doors again, and ultimately the moment that we are all waiting for around whether the president, what promises the president has to give in terms of the State of the Nation address, but also very importantly to that conversation, it is what has been delivered so far. Someone who has been covering the build-up to the State of the Nation address is let's just quickly touch on the build-up to the State of the Nation address and those events that have been taking place.
Well, indeed, Eldrin, there have been festivities taking place. We've had the president coming out and with the 30th anniversary of the death of the release, rather, of Utata Nelson Mandela from Robben Island, coming out and speaking at the Grand Parade and saying he was there on this very day that Utata Mandela was released, and part of the team that came and from the particular prison where he was at, and he was there at the Grand Parade to receive the president. And when the president addressed them into their confidence, and he was there, he was holding the mic, he had goosebumps on that particular day, and saying that those struggles that were achieved with the release of Utata Nelson Mandela can be reflected as the same struggles that the country is facing today, and that the country, if it unites, can come out and win the socio-economic challenges that the country is facing, and also recover the economy. Currently in the doldrums. You heard our political editor Mzwani Lembeja saying the president met with the economic cluster ministers just yesterday into the late hours, basically refining his speech, looking at how he's going to craft this particular speech when it comes to state-owned enterprises, which will be the topic of the day here today, particularly with the Minister of Public Enterprises, who seemingly going to face a show-off with the EFF here tonight.
And we'll have to wait and see indeed if the EFF will follow up on that threat that they will disrupt Parliament if the president does not fire Pravin Gordhan. But as it stands right now, less than 3 hours away from the State of the Nation address and the president delivering that speech, as it stands at the moment, it is quite clear that Pravin Gordhan remains the public minister, or the Minister of Public Enterprises. Let's quickly speak about the EFF and the plans that the EFF has in place.
Well, Eldrin, the EFF seemingly has some tricks up their sleeve on how they are going to be disrupting this State of the Nation address, and they are saying even if it's the last mic that's available with all the others switched off and it's that on the podium of the president, they will go up to that mic and they will speak on behalf of their over 10% voters who voted for them in these past general elections in 2019. And you've had their Commander-in-Chief, Julius Malema, saying that what happened in the National Council of Provinces with Minister Pravin Gordhan when he was reporting back on the work being done in these SOEs. The EFF MPs went around him. You had DA members of parliament led by Natasha Mazzoni, who later moved away, and Don CNAs, and came up with ANC by Hope Up coming to have a defense wall around Pravin Gordhan, the very same man whom they defended when former President Jacob Zuma wanted to fire when he was still the President of the Republic of South Africa, when Pravin Gordhan was the Minister of Finance in the country. So it's looking as if he's going to have his hands full with trying to keep the 44 Red Battalion away from him and away from the president. But you yourself are seemingly dressed for the occasion. Just look at your particular jacket. It's like you are donning the red carpet with these members of Parliament.
Why are you doing that? Stop it. Let's go over to Auckland Park and we'll continue with the rolling coverage of the State of the Nation address. It is the fourth time that the president will be delivering that address.
All right, yeah, we're focusing on the State of the Nation address, and we continue with our preview as we start to unpack some of these issues.